Welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. My name is Michael LeBlanc, and I am your host. This podcast is produced in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. On this episode, Bill Moir, Managing Director at EVP Canada for Specsavers, is back on the podcast as this Vancouver-based international retailer celebrates the opening of its 100th store in Canada, including a successful launch in Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia, with plans to expand into Manitoba. Together, we unpack the successful business model and marketing strategies that have powered Specsavers' rapid growth in Canada, lessons learned, and their winning formula for better eye care for Canadians. Let's listen in now. Bill, welcome back to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks, Michael. How are you?
Fantastic. It's been a while since we've last spoken. I think you had just arrived on the shores, on the great shores of Canada, both yourself and the business. So I'm excited to catch up. I think there's been a lot going on with the Specsavers business.
Yeah, we've been very busy. I think it was just over a year ago we spoke. We've been very busy since then. Having fun, but keeping busy.
Fantastic. And are you still based in the West? Are you still based in Vancouver?
Yeah, still out in Vancouver, although as a business, we're now spread across 3 provinces. So we're in B.C, Alberta, and Ontario. But I'm still based in Vancouver myself.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, listen, let's talk about you for a little bit. For those who may not have heard our first interview, who are you? And tell us a bit about how you got to be you and what you do for a living.
Sure. Well, I was born originally in Edinburgh in Scotland, hence the strange accent, but I'll try and speak slowly so everyone can understand me. I worked in the UK for about 20 years, always in retail, mainly consumer electronics. I worked for brands like Kesa and Google and Dell in lots of different functions. And then about 12 years ago, I moved to Australia, where I worked for Coles, one of the big supermarkets out there, and I ran their marketing strategy before I joined Specsavers in Australia, actually, 8 years ago. Originally as trading director for Australia New Zealand business. And that was great time, actually. It was about 10 years after Specsavers had entered the market. So we had some real exciting milestones. We broke through 50% market share level and that sort of stuff. And then I moved to a group e-commerce role and e-commerce and digital role within Specsavers, just around about the time of COVID actually. So I led our efforts globally to make sure we could still service our customers remotely while we were in lockdowns in 11 different countries around the world with things like e-commerce and remote telecare. And then when we decided in 2021 the time was right for Specsavers to move to Canada, I jumped at the opportunity. So I came over to Vancouver to lead our entry into the new market as the managing director. Moved here with my family. And in the last few years, just really been building the Specsavers team, leading the growth plans to launch Specsavers to Canada. And it's been a really busy few years, but going really well. As I said at the beginning, we've now got over 100 stores across BC, Alberta, and Ontario. So it's been very busy.
Oh, fantastic. You got a lot done in a short amount of time. Now, for Specsavers, is this their first international expansion? Where else can you be found in the world as a retailer?
It's our 11th country. So we started in the UK back in 1984. So it's our 40-year anniversary, in fact, this month. So in the UK and Ireland, we're also moved to Australia and New Zealand. And then we're in about 6 different countries in Northern Europe. So all the Scandinavian countries, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, along with the Netherlands.
All right. So let's talk about when you land on the shores of a country like Canada and the organization has assessed that there's an opportunity here. What are the key strategic steps that you take and milestones that you get to 100 stores this quickly? What contributes that to What contributes to that success in addition to your savvy leadership and a great team? But what do you anchor that kind of beachhead in? Because it's not always successful. We've seen many come and go and not expand the way that you have.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think one of the things that makes Specsavers different is we're a privately owned and purpose-driven business as well. So we're led by optometrists. So we don't answer to shareholders. That means we can make long-term decisions to benefit our partners, the people who own our stores, and also benefit our patients and our customers. So we always start with what's the right compelling proposition for our customers. We want to build something that's really unique for customers and patients in Canada that they can't get anywhere else. So we wanted to make sure we had best-in-class clinical care. So we introduced something called an OCT scan as part of every eye exam, as kind of a hospital-grade 3D scan at the back of the eye. We did that standard. And we coupled that with high quality but really affordable eyewear with glasses starting from as little as $69. So we always start with what's right for customers. And then the other thing that makes Specsavers unique is that in our model, every store is jointly owned and operated by two passionate store partners. Generally, one's always an optometrist, and the other one's an optician or a retailer. We make sure that they're looking after the needs of their customers in their local community every day, giving great levels of service. And we give them really comprehensive business support. We give training for the team. We'll fund 100% of all the startup costs for their brand new store environment as well, and set them up for success and make sure they're on the right path for profitable growth. And they're the two essences, the right thing for customers, the right thing for our partners. But then we add to that a really heavy investment in our award-winning marketing. So we've launched the should have gone to Specsavers tagline into Canada, which has reached millions of Canadians. And that drives new patient bookings, customer traffic. And that's meant we've now become one of the most recognized as optical brands in Canada in just 2 years. So the customers are loving the proposition. The stores we've set up have been really successful. To give you an idea, a typical Specsavers store generates about just over 1.5 million in retail sales in their first year. And that's well ahead of the average for even an established optical store in Canada.
Interesting. Let's talk about the optometrist for a sec, the business partner end of it. Now, they as professionals would have lots of choices, I suppose, and partners that they could make. Why, and what have you seen in terms of trends for them coming to your side of the equation? What is it that they find so compelling? You mentioned one thing which kind of jumps out, which is the funding or the financing from your organization up front. That's probably ticks one box, but I'm sure it doesn't tick all the boxes. How are you winning with optometrists who, they look at it kind of, I don't know, as business people, you'd look at a new entrant and go, I don't know, are they going to stick? I mean, you're a global business, but you know what I mean? Like what are those other boxes that are getting ticked off that are making you so successful?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, as you say, that the main difference in our model is that they have the opportunity to support and own a high volume profitable business. That's one of the key things. And as you said, we cover the startup cost of each location. So they have really comprehensive support, more support they would normally have, I think, in another business, to really make sure they're successful and they can focus on caring the needs of their customers and not on worry about the day-to-day running a business. We'll help and support a lot of that for them. We find that means we're able to actually support a lot of first-time business owners because we make that first step really easy for them. But we're also finding that actually, because the business model is so attractive from a customer point of view, many optometrists who joined us have successfully transitioned from their own independent practice as well, which they've converted to Specsavers stores. There's also something about how we run our business. So we have a network of independent optometrists who come and work with us, and they have a say in how we operate the business. So we're constantly working with our optometrists to develop our offer. We have these groups called the optometrist-led steering groups, which operate in each province. And we use them to advise and consult with us on how to develop and grow our offer going forward. So at the back of that, I think that's one of the reasons we've been so successful. We've now got over 200 optometrists, 250 opticians, and over 1,000 eye care consultants on board, meaning we're actually the fastest growing network of eye care professionals in the whole of Canada.
So you would bring these folks together either virtually or in real life, as the kids would say. What kind of feedback would you get? I mean, you're a global platform, so part of that means, there is a format and a structure. But where do you find the flexibility nation by nation? Is that it's informed by your optometrist and your retail partners? How do they feed that to you, and how much wiggle room, so to speak, do you have when they say, listen, it's different? Everybody says it's different, right? It's different here in Ontario. It's different here and wherever. How do you take all that in and fix the model without breaking it, I guess?
Yeah, it is different. And that's for us, we're a partnership-led business. I think that's really what it's about. It's about working together in partnership. Our model is always flexible. We don't have a fixed model that we just implement the same everywhere. We wouldn't be successful if we did that. We adapt on a number of different levels. First of all, we adapt by province. Every province is different. The regulations are different. Mindset, the culture is different. So we need to work really closely with the optometry steering group and the partner advisory council. They're the two groups we use to really make sure we're adapting our offer for the needs of the professionals and our partners in that province, as well as the customers in that province. The other thing that makes our business model, again, different and flexible is the fact that each store is individual. They're owned by our optometry, optician, and retail partners. So they need to be able to adapt to the needs of their local community, their business owners. So we'll support them. I look after the team at what we call the support office, not the head office.
Yeah.
It's the support office, because our role is to support our partners in making sure their business is successful, and they have the flexibility to run their business in the way that best meets their customers' needs.
So it's not like you arrived to a country where eyeglasses were absent, and many would say they were available at all levels, at all spectrum of price points. What is it? It's got to be more than the price point. Now, you've been describing the kind of partnerships and people who know their local market. Is that what's gotten you through or over the hurdle, really? Is that kind of that mix of a great price point, but again, there's price points that were pretty good here before. What is it that you think is really catching with the Canadian consumer?
I think part of the problem is Canadians, we've been looking at the market for a while. We've seen that Canadians aren't visiting their optometrists as often as they should. We did a survey recently, so a Specsavers survey showed that 38% of Canadians as adults say they're overdue for an eye exam. So that's a real problem, because 75% of vision loss can be prevented or treated. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to turn this around by removing the barriers for customers and making sure that quality eye care, stylish eyewear is more accessible and more affordable for people. So if I look at the eye care market in Canada, I mean, there's been a lot of consolidation over the last few years, and that's resulted in less choice and worse value, quite frankly, for customers. And our aim is to turn that around, to give Canadians more choice, to give them high quality eyewear and exceptional service, but in a great store environment alongside great value eyewear. And that way, we're removing the barriers for them having eye exams. So because all our locations are owned and run by optometrists and opticians and retailers, we've been able to make sure that they're adapting to the needs of their customers in each community. And I think that's why we've been welcomed so much in Canada.
Interesting. 71% brand awareness in just under 2 years. Pretty impressive. When it comes down to local, do you find that your local partners are they asking you at store support for multiple languages? Like, how are they? A big feature of Canada now is always has been, but there's been an influx of new Canadians. How do you find your partners adapting to that?
Yeah, we do find. In fact, as of yesterday, 73%. I was looking at the numbers yesterday, so it's growing every day, our brand awareness, which is great.
That's great.
We do a bit of both. So we do quite a lot on a national level, and the advertising tends to be, it's quite a light-hearted, entertaining advertising comms that we do. So it keeps eye care top of mind, encourages people to look after their eye care. And we launched, as I said, should have gone Specsavers catchphrase last year, which has gone down really well. People are enjoying the ads. In fact, we're launching our new national ad next month as well. And there's probably two other bits. You're quite right. You say every community is different. There's a lot of people who speak different languages. So we'll adapt and put multi-language comms and advertising in stores in individual locations where it's relevant for that community and for that customer base. But the other thing, big thing about our brand is why I think it's grown and we've been so successful so quickly. You can't buy that. It's not just about advertising. It's about most of our success is due to word of mouth. And that's driven by the exceptional care, service, value that our store partners and team members give to customers and local communities every single day. And that's really resulted in our customers becoming brand advocates for the Specsavers brand. I think the combination of that, along with advertising that's relevant for customers, is what's made success overall.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's talk about technology for a little bit. So I want to talk about it at two levels. One is the technology that goes into you being able to provide eyeglasses at the rate you do, and then the second is the kind of technology you think of from a retail perspective. I just last week's episode of the pod, we were talking about RFID, for example, to keep great controls of inventory is one popular technology. How are you thinking about technology first, I guess, in the production of the product, but then more broadly in terms of what and how you see yourself making or helping retailers be successful with modern retail technology?
Yeah, well, we do. I mean, all our clinics, I said at the beginning, are fitted with advanced clinical technology. So we have a machine called an optical coherence tomography. It's an OCT. It's basically a 3D scan that aids early detection of sight-threatening conditions like glaucoma and diabetes. Doctors love that. Love access to that technology and the impact it makes on patient outcomes. And we offer that as standard as part of every eye exam in Specsavers, which is quite unique in Canada. But then we use other technology, other clinical technology, so things like visual fields machines or ultrawide field cameras. to make sure that we've got the best possible clinical care for our patients. Retail, on the retail side, not just retail, but also our opticians, also making sure we've got the right tools in place for them dispensing. So we have a number of custom-built tools that we operate as part of the patient and customer journey, which lets our opticians make sure we're really accurate with our dispensing. Mm-hmm. So we have automated dispensing tools on our iPad that they can use with customers to help customers make sure we're taking all their accurate measurements for them. But they can also help with customers and walk them through their product selection process as well. So they can go on an app and we'll take them through a journey to make sure they've got the right style and type of lenses for their products as well. So we can take them on a kind of interactive journey in store as well to make sure they're getting the best possible product for them.
And I see you got some co-brand partnerships, right? Adidas and Kylie Minogue. That would be one that you might perhaps have brought over from Australia. What percentage of people migrate to that? That's to give them a choice, and there's some upsells, I suppose, in the process. Is that what your collaboration does and looks like with those big brands?
Yeah, and we tend to find, the Specsavers brand is about having a wide appeal and having something for everyone. So we've got our own brand product, which is incredibly high quality, comes through our own supply chain, which is great. So we can give customers not only great quality, but also great value as well. But some people want brands as well. So we have a range of different brands across the board. Some of which we've got from our other markets, as you say. So Alex Perry, who's a designer that we work with in Australia, we've launched him now in Canada. He was over here last year, visited some stores, and we did a great feature with Elle magazine with him. But we've also got some relatively well-known brands in Canada, Marc Jacobs. We've got some other new exciting launches, which I can't really share yet, unfortunately, coming out over the course of this year. We've got some good Canadian brands, which we'll be launching over the course of this year as well. So yeah, it's about having something for everyone, and different styles, different brands, and different price points.
I guess that's the challenge. I walk into, I'll say, an average eyeglass place, and they start to all look a little bit the same. I like my eyeglasses to be a little bit distinctive, and I guess some percentage of people will also like that. Others will kind of take a two or three. Is that the way you think of it as well? Is like we've got to make them distinctive, but maybe not too distinctive. But how do we make them look different from all the other? There's a large variety of assortment out there. People come to you for a bunch of reasons, but do you guys, is that a centralized process? Do you guys put some input into that, being a Canadian fast-growing part of a international organization? Yeah,
the range we have in Canada is very much customized to the Canadian market. So what we find, because of the consolidation we've seen in the eyewear industry in Canada, there's been less choice for customers. Quite often you walk into different optical outlets and you'll see pretty much the same range or the same brands from lots of different players. Yeah. So we want our range to stand out. We want to be unique. So we're quite different in terms of the brands that we bring to market for consumers. We're constantly evaluating our range. So we got over 1,200 products in most of our stores. And we change about 500 of them every year. So 50% of the range changes every year. And then we do that to make sure we're adapting to customers' needs. It could be anything from shapes as different trends happen or different color trends happen. We can adapt that. It could be sizes, as we got the right size for the customer base that we're servicing. So there's lots of different changes like that. We're constantly evaluating and the range and changing it to make sure we're meeting customers' needs.
What's next? You're in 3 provinces. You're on a growth trajectory, but how do you moderate that so that you grow successfully? What's next for the business?
Probably 3 things, I suppose. First, we'll continue to grow new locations. So in our existing provinces, so we've got loads. In fact, we'll be 110 stores by the end of this week. And that's just.
It feels like we'll have more stores by the end of the conversation. Your market share is going up. Your store is going up.
We might well do. But that's just in Ontario and BC and Alberta. But we're launching in Manitoba later this year as well, which is great. And that'll help us increase access to eye care for more Canadians. That's about being accessible for Canadians to come and see the Specsavers proposition. And we'll consider other provinces as well that we're not in yet as well. Then it's about growing our initial stores. So our initial stores are doing really well. We'll continue to grow the customer base for these stores as they come into their second and third year of business. So we're seeing really strong growth. In fact, the first Specsavers stores we opened in Canada, which is on Vancouver Island, is forecast this year to care for 15,000 patients and customers this year, and also achieve over $4.5 million in retail revenue. So that's almost 6 times higher than before we converted them to Specsavers. So that's the next thing, is growing our existing stores. And another thing is just continuously expanding our services. So last year we introduced myopia management with our partners. We've introduced teleoptometry services in some areas where it's hard for customers to access our brand. And being the largest optometry-owned business in the world, we're able to draw on our scale constantly to innovate. So we've got lots of projects on the go, which we look forward to supporting the doctors in the network and how they can impact eye health on a much larger scale across Canada.
So you've been here 2 years, basically. What advice from what you've learned? I mean, you come, so to speak, to the market with a fresh set of eyes. And what advice do you have for your fellow retailers about being successful in the Canadian retail market?
I think the big thing we've always been, as a business, we're actually quite a humble business. Even though we're the largest optometry-owned business in the world, we don't know it all. And we need to make sure that whatever we do adapts to the needs of customers. So we're nothing else. We're a partnership-led business, and we're a customer-focused business. Our purpose is to change life through better sight. Mm-hmm. In order to do that, we need to be accessible to people, and we need to make sure we're adapting our model, our proposition, our partnership offer to meet the needs of the local market. We can't just assume that what we do in another country or another region, Specsavers, will work here, because it won't. We need to spend a lot of time listening to people, taking on board feedback, and making sure we're constantly changing it and adapting.
Listen, whatever that formula is, and that sounds like a pretty great formula. It's working well for you, so congratulations. And listen, thanks for taking the time out of no doubt a busy day to join me on the mic for the Voice of Retail. It was great to catch up, and I think if we do this next year, you'll, I don't know how many you'll have by then, but you're on such a great trajectory. So it's really congratulations. Thanks again for joining me on the Voice of Retail podcast. A real treat to catch up, and wish you continued success.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Voice of Retail. If you haven't already, follow on your favorite podcast platform so new episodes will land automatically each week. And be sure and check out my other retail industry media properties, the Remarkable Retail Podcast with Steve Dennis and the Global E-Commerce Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, Senior Retail Advisor, Keynote Speaker, Rethink Retail 2023 Global Top Retail Influencer. If you want more content or chat, follow me on LinkedIn. Safe travels, everyone.